Hello folks, I'm Jason Chrisman of JC's Bees, a Central Ohio beekeeper. In the last 9 days, things have changed a lot for Americans. We're now in the middle of COVID-19, aka coronavirus scare, and a lot of changes have been made. This isn't just here in America, this is a worldwide problem, but in the last 9 days, it's came to America, and now we're dealing with it. We're now practicing something called social distancing, where you keep at least 6 feet from everybody. A little bit different, I must say. How times have changed in the last 9 days, huh? You feel like you had freedom, and now you don't feel like you have so much freedom. Well, in today's video, what I would like to discuss is some things that we can do to help pass the time. There's a lot of Americans that aren't working right now. They're stuck at home because their place of work may be shut down, or maybe they just chose to take time off so they weren't putting their family at risk or themselves. So passing time is a big thing to do right now, and if you don't do anything to help pass your time, you're liable to start panicking and maybe get depressed, and that's not what I want anybody to do by any means. We've got to keep calm, let this work itself out, and the world will eventually go back to what we call normal. So what I would like to do to start off is I want to move into my wood shop and show you what I've been doing the last few days. And maybe you can give me some tips on some problems I've came across. So let's go there and we'll check that out. So a while back I did a video where I had a box given to me that was used for cut comb. And you might recall that video and this particular box right here. This is a box made by Echo Bee Box, and that's where my idea came from. Now you can see what we've got here is a bunch of miniature frames. What's going to happen is you're going to basically use this as a super for your colony, and you would want to put starter strip or foundation in there, whichever, and the bees will draw all that out. Once it gets plugged full and they put the capping on it, on the honey, then you can remove this box and simply cut around the frame and have a nice square of comb honey to sell. Well, I took this setup here and I'm going to use it for a different purpose. What I'm going to use it for is mating, getting queens mated. So these will all be miniature mini frames for my mating boxes. So let me set this box to the side. This is one that was given to me. Now a lot of these frames here are frames that I made, except for this side. This side here are all frames that I've made. So let me set this out of the way. And what we've got here is basically a medium box. The only thing different besides a standard medium box is instead of having our cleat on the ends for our frames to hang on, imagine this is a full-size frame, it would sit in here this way, and we have cleats on the ends for our ears on our frames to sit on. Well, in this particular box you have to add that cleat on each side, and what I did was basically cut out a rabbet, and now I've got that cleat going all the way around. So my frames have something to sit on the edge. In the middle, what I did was I took a piece of 2-inch styrofoam, put a 3/4 board on top of that with some long decking screws going down into the foam, and then I put a piece of 3/4 inch stripping on the center, and this pushes down in. Now one thing I should point out before I push it down in there is you notice on the ends how my top 3/4 board hangs out and has ears on it just like the frames. This pushes down right in the middle of the box, like so. And eventually what I may do is maybe put some fasteners here so that it doesn't move. And I'm going to have to get it centered here before this to work perfectly. But that's basically the gist of it. Now I can put, let's see, what does it hold? 13 per side. So that gets me 26 in this box. So once the bees get all this drawn out in the comb, I should back up here a little bit. Since I'm going to use this for a mini mating box, or to get these mini mating frames drawn out, I won't be using it as a super. I will be putting it on as a brood box. If the queen wants to lay some eggs in some of these frames, that would be fine too. That gives me small frames of brood that I can add to my mating nucs. So after I get all these drawn out, in which I'm making 3 of these boxes, the one that was given to me and these 2 here, I just need to finish making my frames. So after these get drawn out, and I go to get my queens mated, I'm working on my mini mating boxes now. Repurposing some old boxes. That's why you see the lid the way it is. It's just an old deep box that fell apart, and I can't see any reason to waste the wood. On the inside here, we've got my mini frames, which we'll set over here for now. And we've got our entrance here, which I'm playing with some ideas this year to battle hive beetles. And this is one of the suggestions that I've been wanting to try. There's a Tennessee beekeeper, and I can't think of his name right off the bat, but I'll put that across the bottom of the screen here. He uses this PEX pipe, which is a new big thing in plumbing. It's very flexible. A lot of people are using this. You can get this at Lowe's in several different lengths. I bought a couple pieces a few years ago to use as garden stakes, and I have a bunch of these laying around. So I'm going to use these up as hive entrances, in hopes that what I'm hearing about the hive beetle not being able to hover, and if that's the case, that means that the beetle won't be able to just hover right here and go straight in. It'll either have to land on the outside and try and make this corner and go in, but what I think is going to happen is when it tries to curve the corner and walk over, it's just going to fall. Because of the hard structure of its shell, it's not able to make a real sharp turn around the corner and go in. Another thing I'm playing with, which the Tennessee beekeeper did not do this that I'm aware of, around the base back here you can see I've drilled some pretty good size holes. And on the inside I've taken a piece of regular metal window screen, made it round, and I slid it in there until those holes were covered. I'm going to pull this out and let you look through the center so that you can see there is no restrictions. Now if we look through this way, you can see the screen. Now what I'm hoping this will do is combat robbing a little bit. You see, as the bees from a robbing colony land here on the box, they're going to smell the inside of the colony. And that's just going to drive curiosity wild, and they're going to stay here until they figure out, I can't get in. I can smell it like crazy, but I can't get in. But the bees from this colony know they have to come out here and land back here. So there would be not any interference on their part, only the robbing bees. So that's just something else I added on there to play around with. We'll see if it makes any difference. On the bottom of the box, I have to move the camera a little bit here so you can see. It's pretty much a solid bottom, all except for this here, which I don't have stapled in yet. And this is just a piece of plastic mesh that they use for a lot of crafts. And I'm going to try and use this for my screen for the bottom. Will it work? I think so. Could the bees propolize it closed? They most definitely could. Time will tell. But that's going to lay in the bottom, just like so. It's going to get stapled in place eventually. But what I would like to do, and this is where you might be able to give me some insight, I would like to have 4 frames per mating nuc, miniature mating nuc. This extra space here, I would like to make a frame feeder that would sit down in here. Now I've made frame feeders in the past where I dipped the wood in wax, hoping that the liquid would not seep through and make it to the outside. Didn't seem to work out so good for me. So that's not really necessarily an option there. I would like to think of something that's foolproof. Maybe I need to put plastic sidebars out of maybe some Lexan or something, and then wrap the whole thing with a piece of plastic, leaving the top open. I'm not real sure. It's something I want to play around with. I even thought, you know, they make these square Tupperware containers for you to take your lunch sandwich in. They got a nice lid that snaps on the front. If there was a way that you could cut the top of that off, when I say the top of it, if this is one of those sandwich containers and you stood it on end with the lid snapped on, and you cut the top off, that would leave an open void all the way down that would hold liquid possibly, especially if you glued the lid on. That might be one method of making a frame feeder, but I would like to put a little bit more thought into this before I go hog wild making them. If you have a suggestion, please leave it down below. So yeah, there will be, for every one of these boxes, there will be 4 of these boxes. So I need to make at least 12 of these, and so far I've got 4 of them made. So, you know, this is how I'm practicing my social distancing. I'm spending time out here in the wood shop, working on some bee projects, trying to get caught up before the season even starts. And while I'm thinking of it, since I had so many of these little frames to make, I went ahead and threw me together a little jig to help build the frames, since I have so many of them to assemble. Basically, you take your top bar, you put it across here, you take your end pieces, and they go over here. And what basically this allows me to do is I can go down through here and put 10 of these in this side, 10 of these in this side, set the top bars across. I got this string here that I wrap around here to keep the end bars tight so they're not moving around. And then I'll put these on, the top bar all the way across. First I glue everything. And then I take my little brad nailer, staple, flip it over, put the bottoms on, and voila, I got 10 frames made just like that. So yeah, if you're going to make very many frames at all, even if they aren't miniature frames, check into a frame jig. I have a video on this where I did frames last year and used a full size frame jig. Huge time saver, folks. Sure, we need to practice social distancing, but let's be smart about it. If we can complete 100 frames and half the time, why not? We can move on to something else. Just makes sense. So yeah, I've got a little plastic tote here with frame parts that I've been cutting out. Here's my top bars. Here's the bottom bar. Side bars, sideboards. That one there's needs cut down. So some other things you can do besides working in the shop is just get outside, take a walk. I know as a beekeeper and a farmer, one thing I like to do right now is walk around and seeing everything starting to turn green. So let's walk out here in my little pasture and take a little look and see what we can see. So it's about 8:30 Saturday morning. When my daughter's home, which, you know, no school because of this COVID-19, she does all the bird chores. So the chickens are still cooped up. You can see them in there in the window. There are about 28, 29 of them in there. The ducks have still yet to be let out because she does those too. So they're waiting on my daughter to get her butt out of bed and come out here and release everybody and get the feeding started. Then everybody will free range most of the day. Oh, muddy ducks. Yeah, muddy ducks. This is how I've been spending my days, folks. Outside, trying to get stuff done. If I'm not in the shop, yesterday it was 70 degrees. Hard to believe this morning when I woke up to 24, but it was 70 degrees yesterday. Very, very beautiful day. I was out here without a coat. no toboggan, and I got a lot done. Got a lot of trash picked up. Garbage man isn't gonna like all these people being home cleaning up, I tell you that. You're gonna have a lot of trash to haul away. So, like I said, yesterday we had 70 degrees, but we also had 3 inches of rain overnight. So lots of mud. But you can see what the rain's done. Look how green everything's starting to turn. And that's just what I like to do. I like to get out, walk, see what the grass is looking like, what's starting to bring on some blooms, some leaves. I noticed at our lease farm, the honeysuckle is starting to push out leaves. Look here. Clover. Some good old Dutch clover. If you're not familiar what Dutch clover is, it's the white clover that grows in most people's yards. This is Sassy. He's a heifer. Aren't you, Sassy? You gonna show off? You gonna say hi to the people? Come here, Sassy. Sassy was a mistake. Yeah, she was up at our leased farm, well, her mother was, when the Amish bull decided he was going to jump the fence and mate. And this is the result. So she'll be 2 here in, well, less than a month. But you ask me, she's still got some weight gaining to do. She had a case of the worms there about a month ago, and I think I've just gotten rid of those. This is Sassy. This is a heifer that I will be keeping and will be going to get bred this year. This one be processed out. Sassy, we don't need a show. Fluffy. This one's my girl here. I like this one. She's got really good genetics, and I'm going to build on that. You know how short-legged she is compared to the other one? This one here takes less to maintain than that. See all that empty space down there between your legs? You can't eat that. That's just extra money and extra work to maintain it. Anyway, we'll get back out here, see what we can see. Now if we look back here towards the back of my property, you can see, and it's going to be hard to see from this distance maybe, but the honey locust starting to get some nice leaves on it. You can see it right there. The trees kind of still looking dormant. I know the maple trees are in full bloom right now, but not a whole lot of other trees pushing out blooms or anything else. But I imagine some more warm weather, things will start to change around, and we're going to see a lot more clover. Look, here's some more. So here's some more. So this is what I mean when I say that cattle go good with bees. As you see all this clover, the cattle will graze it, make the plant produce more, and it'll bloom again. The bees will work it, the cattle will graze it, it'll start over, it'll bloom some more. And it just keeps repeating all summer long. Isn't that right, Sassy? Sassy, Fluffy. Sassy, Fluffy. So I've also been out here cleaning some brush, as you can see, because this forage doesn't grow when it's protected by the trees, the shade of the trees. So to get some more sun in my little pasture here at the house, been cutting down a lot of trees. And that's how I know the maple trees are in bloom. This one that you see laying here, that's a maple tree. I guess that's not the only reason I know. I have seen bees bringing in pollen. Probably won't be flying much today, but yesterday they were flying pretty hard. Now let's see if I can find some of these blooms. It's going to be probably kind of hard because the cows, as I cut them off and threw them over here, they were going through here numbing on them, eating on them. There's one. So apparently that must taste pretty good. at least if you're a cow. So they've come through here and chewed off about all of them, a good percentage of them anyway. So anyway, folks, this is just one of the other things you can do. Just get out and walk, explore, see what's going on in your area, see what's coming back to life. Get out and walk in the mud and enjoy it, because if it wasn't for this mud, the grass wouldn't be turning green and the trees wouldn't be blooming. We need the rain, we need the warm weather, and together they'll bring on spring. I'd like to point out David Burns, a master beekeeper, just released a video last week on can my bees get COVID-19? I'm going to link that down in my video description if any of you would like to check that out. I think if we keep our heads on straight, folks, we can get through this COVID-19 without any issues. It's going to take us practicing the social distancing, keeping ourselves busy, keeping ourselves occupied, and washing our hands very thoroughly as much as possible. Practicing not touching our face, which is a lot harder than you realize until you have to do it. Nothing to be worried about, folks. I think we just need to keep our heads on straight and keep moving forward. I read an article this morning about a beekeeper in China. Once he got quarantined to the fact that he couldn't drive to his bee yard, and he was restricted from driving, his bees died. And once that word got back to him, he killed himself. I don't know the state of mind that he was in when this all took place, but I imagine it was a very low place. And you know, I don't want to be reading next week that an American beekeeper did the same thing. We got to keep our heads on straight, folks. We got to keep thinking positive and keep moving forward. This is just like my video there a few weeks ago about losing your bees to mites and having to start over. You just got to keep your head up, keep moving forward, and keep spending time with your family, your loved ones, and we'll get through this. We will. And when we do, we're going to be a lot stronger. And, you know, it's kind of my personal belief that this existing president we have has kind of drove a wedge between much of the United States. You either like him or you don't. I'm not going to voice my opinion here too much because I don't want to get all political and have a bunch of political comments down in my video comments. But I think this COVID-19, regardless whose fault it is that we have it here in America now, can actually bring us together after we get through it. But we have to be those people that are practicing the social distancing and maybe thinking of ways to help the people that are out fighting this COVID-19. That's a good way to stay occupied and to do something positive. So I hope you enjoyed this video, folks. I stewed on this the last couple days about what I was going to do today for a video, and this is what I come up with. I was going to kind of just do one on only COVID-19, but then I thought, you know, that's not what my subscribers subscribe to me for. They subscribe to me for beekeeping. So this is my way of kind of mentioning both in the same video, and I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, throw me a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Make sure you click on the little bell so you get notified when I release new videos. And thanks for watching, folks. JC's Bees. We'll see everybody next week. Stay safe and healthy.